I've completely supported all the bills for my girlfriend for 4 years, but she still has no job, and I'm starting to resent everything I sacrificed for us. Posted by you/Epicycles. Hi everyone. I, 27F, started a long-distance relationship with a girl, 30F, I met through a friend, which lasted about a year and culminated in her moving across state lines to be with me in the city. Everything was great, and we were truly in love with each other. Because she moved across state lines, and because she expressed the desire to leave her toxic field of choice and try her hand at something more banal, I agreed to take on the burden of supporting her for a while until she had a job. She would take on most of the cleaning and groceries, etc., while I was at work. I even agreed to sleep on a mattress in the kitchen because she had chronic insomnia problems and required very specific constraints under which she could sleep. I could not tolerate these while working. I feel like I've done everything I could for her, including taking care of her expensive medical needs, which destroyed my savings. After around 1.5 to 2 years, I started to develop an anxiety disorder under the stress of supporting her. What had at first been something I was willing to do out of kindness and love quickly became a consent issue and has turned into a burden. Fast forward to now, 4 years after she came to the city, and still no job. I am a nervous wreck, and I feel completely emotionally run down by the burden of supporting her. I've destroyed my body by putting on weight due to the stress as well. I used to be pretty happy and carefree, but now I'm just depressed and anxious all the time. We have a non-existent sex life because my sex drive has tanked completely. I don't know what to do because I still love her, and we have a loving, romantic relationship otherwise. She's never really done anything wrong, if that makes sense. She's been loving, helpful, and genuinely seems affected by not succeeding in finding a job and helping shoulder the burden. I never really cared for my mental health much before, but it's really starting to affect me. I've become emotionally unstable, and sometimes the stress and resentment come through in my interactions with her. The hardest part about this is that I can tell she's trying and just failing. I've tried to help, and I've been rebuffed several times and only able to help a bit, but otherwise, she hasn't done anything wrong. If she has, I haven't been able to tell what she's doing wrong in particular, because I can't and don't want to be there 24/7 to monitor every job application. But I am resentful because I feel like I've sacrificed everything from my body to my mental health to make this relationship happen, but it's just not happening. What do I do? To make it clear, this is a big, deal-breaking issue for me that I've told her is my primary source of stress and anxiety. I don't see much change, and I think she's too ashamed at this point to give me updates, which just compounds my stress because of the radio silence. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. How is she failing? To what kind of work is she applying? What field did she leave? I understand you love her and want this to work. Based on what you said, this isn't her taking advantage, she's just having a hard time. However, you are too, and there needs to be a solution if you want to stay together. Why can't she take something just while she searches? I imagine the 4-year gap is working against her, she might need to start from scratch. Also, you need help. As in, help taking care of yourself and your finances. If she can't get it together, maybe she needs to go home for a while so you can get a break. Regarding your emotional state, I don't know if you're insured, but perhaps speak to a therapist. Good luck, friend. Ops response. She has an MBA, but she doesn't seem to be getting any responses from recruiters and hasn't been to a single interview in the 4 years. She left politics after 13 years, starting from team volunteer, so this is a huge shift. I believe she's applying to director level or senior level positions, but I can't confirm it. I know that this would be a huge error if it were true, but like I said, I'm trying not to micromanage how and where she applies, hoping she'd do the right thing on her own. I'm fine with temp jobs, but I previously asked that she not take a minimum wage hourly role, because I thought it'd be a waste of time and a bit of a cop-out given her experience and degree. That may have been a mistake. We've done the week-long break thing before, but it seems like I need it every quarter or so to stay sane, which is a big ask. I am insured, and I've recently started going to a therapist where I'll be talking about this stuff. I've previously asked my girlfriend to go to couples therapy, but she's against it. Commenter 2. I can relate to your situation, up. Relationships, in my opinion, need balance and partnership, sharing costs, aligning on career ambitions, and setting joint health and financial goals. You come across as supportive and empathetic. It's okay to be a safety net, but not an enabler. Have a conversation with her. Set clear expectations and time-bound goals. Focus on your own health goals, like continuing therapy and engaging in daily physical activity, and check in on hers, such as counseling, managing depression, and her sleep condition. Set expectations for follow-through on both sides. Ask her directly how she plans to contribute to healthcare bills, rent, and other monthly expenses. Set a target percentage for her contributions and establish a clear deadline. Then, ask how she intends to meet that goal and make sure there's follow-through. In terms of her career, dig deeper. The information you've shared so far is too general to expect real accountability. Has she taken any online courses or earned certifications? Is she using free self-directed resources or reading professional development books? Has she done mock interviews, networking, or cold outreach? A 4-year employment gap is significant. She needs to begin addressing it. She must be held accountable, with consistent follow-through or consequences. You know she has potential, but she has to act on it. Ops response. Thanks, that was a very mature response. I believe I made a mistake that veered into enabler territory. I assumed that if I removed all barriers to success, then she would naturally succeed. However, that didn't seem to impact the outcome, and I ended up neglecting to advocate for myself. I spoke to her tonight about professional career counseling. She is going to see one tomorrow. This weekend, I plan to review her applications and resume. In the meantime, I've set a 2 to 3 month deadline. Technically, January marks her 4-year anniversary. We haven't discussed concrete financial splits yet, but I made it very clear that 4 years is unacceptable. While I've previously framed my thinking around when she gets a job, I've started to seriously consider the question of what if she doesn't. And I think that scenario points toward a breakup, because this situation is simply not healthy for me, mentally or physically. We've discussed certifications and online courses. At one point, I pointed her toward project management certifications, but she didn't show much interest in pursuing them. She doesn't network, but she does send cold emails and tries to work with recruiters. No mock interviews, though. I agree, I haven't been strong on accountability, but I think we've reached the point where that has to change. Update 1 year later. I posted about a 4-year relationship causing me mental, emotional, and physical health problems due to my partner failing to find a job or contribute to the finances in any meaningful way. I made the post at the height of COVID in my area, trying to keep the relationship alive. At the time, we had moved to a new state and a smaller town to live more cheaply and to help address my physical needs that couldn't be met in the city with everything and everyone locked down. Things were good for a few months. However, the job question came back again. I was working full-time and had taken on new responsibilities for keeping myself in shape, working hard to lose the weight. That's when I noticed she was just kind of existing. She wasn't excited about anything in the area and wasn't doing much to find jobs. I had a talk with her in October, and we agreed that perhaps my request that she find a salaried 9 to 6 job could be relaxed, and part-time would be sufficient to help out. After all, I only needed 2 things from her: space from time to time, and for her to help out in any way she could with the finances. The first of 2 final straws occurred that winter. I was working to build a new business from scratch, and I had to leave my job in order to do it, which meant around 4 months of negative income. It was going to be tight, but she agreed to help support us by finding an easy job. This support never came. She couldn't do it, or didn't want to. I began to notice it felt more like the latter. As a result, we barely made rent in February, thanks to my taking on contract work on the side, effectively working 2 jobs. We had a huge fight in February over this. I wasn't willing to be that close to being homeless just because she didn't want to work a job that was beneath her qualifications. I made it explicit that this was a deal breaker for me and that I would not move an inch in the relationship until she started contributing in the way we discussed. She agreed. Another 5 months went by with no job. At this point, frustrated with her lack of success, she asked me to move with her to her hometown and move in with her parents while she looked for a job where she had a network. I flat out refused, and we went on a break. I moved to a new state and hoped that maybe some space would allow me to think clearly about the relationship. By September this year, I realized I felt completely happy to be on my own and stress-free. We broke it off completely. To my knowledge, she still doesn't have a job as of this post. I feel used, emotionally, physically, and financially abused, and hurt by how casually someone could run me into the ground like this. But I also feel hopeful about myself, and I'm seeing a therapist who's helping me unpack it all. Further, my business was worth it, and it's taken off and given me enough time and space to deal with all of this while maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Overall, the biggest downer is I feel like I've just wasted 5 years of my life with someone who I'm fairly sure was a subtle abuser the whole time. It hurts to say it, but the way I always felt like the bad guy, or the way she would guilt-trip me and keep me from my friends, bad news, I know. I'll never let anyone do this to me again. /relevant comments. Commenter. You didn't waste 5 years, you saved yourself 50. This experience will help you if you decide to have another relationship. You will know how to identify positive traits, and will not give too many chances when dealing with negative traits. You're much more likely to have a happy future. Well done, up.